Hello, welcome. Hey, you made it. Wow. Welcome to ItsOrio's Timeline Theory, featuring me, Oreo. I come from the r/Jaden subreddit. Most likely, if you're watching this, you're from the subreddit. So, I'm glad you're here. You made it. Welcome. It's gonna be a good time. I know this is on YouTube, so if you randomly stumble into this, check out the subreddit, I guess. And I'm glad you're here as well. So I don't want to make the intro super long because we have a lot to get into, obviously. So I'll explain this whole mess I have on the board right here. And just go over some basic stuff. So you might be asking, Oreo, what is on your face? I don't know. You tell me. I'm wearing this because I kind of want to stay anonymous in a way. I never done this before. I'm definitely not YouTube material. No YouTube personality. This is like the first time I've ever done something like this before, so you better be grateful for this video. All right. I got the IRYS hoodie on. It's gonna be great. Maybe this is an IRYS look right here, so I'm just going with the theme. Okay. I want to stay anonymous, even though you know my voice and my face, but it's whatever. So now we got to get into this. I know this looks a little crazy, but once I start getting into it, it'll start making sense. Pieces will start coming together. So you'll be good. All right, trust me. Just take my hand. We'll get through this fine. So the thing closest to me, this timeline right here, is my timeline. This is how I structured the timeline. So as you can see, CTV3 and IRYS have this line connecting them. What I'm basically saying is that these two albums happen at the same time. And it might sound a little crazy, but obviously if you've read my theories, you know it makes sense. But if you're new to this, I'll explain. Don't worry. So then it goes into SYRE, Electric album, and then IRYS is coming last. All right. I know it seems all over the place. I'll explain. So the thing farthest to me is the order in which Jaden released the albums. So SYRE, Electric album, IRYS is coming, IRYS, and then CTV3. But he did state that CTV3 was a prequel, so obviously we know it's before SYRE, right? But he never clarified what IRYS was. So that's why these theories have been popping up. We're sort of placing, is it a sequel? Is it a prequel? Obviously, IRYS to me is a prequel. But Jaden released the albums sort of as to make it seem like it's a sequel. So in my opinion, he kind of threw us off in a way, right? But you know what? I'm about to prove it all wrong. IRYS lives at the same time as Wavy Baby. All right, don't worry. Yeah. Before we get into anything, I'm gonna post this on the subreddit, so make sure you upvote that. I think this is the only video I'm ever gonna post on YouTube, unless you guys want more. I don't know. So I wouldn't recommend subscribing or liking. And if you want to leave a comment, you should probably do that on the subreddit or direct message me on Reddit. So I'll definitely answer there. I don't know about YouTube because I don't really know how it functions. Jaden, if you see this, I'm right, okay? You thought you were being slick. You thought you had, things hidden. Nah, I solved it. I'm sorry. I figured it out. It's okay. It's okay. I got it. It's okay. Someone had to figure it out eventually, right? It's okay. Just give me my props. Maybe like exclusive merch. I don't know. Something like that. Okay. Yeah, I think that's everything. So I'm going to start by talking about CTV3 first. And then it's going to sort of parallel into IRYS. I'm going to toss those two back and forth because, certain events happen at certain times. Certain periods of the album might affect another part of the different album. So I'm definitely going to hop back and forth in a way, but I'm definitely going to focus on CTV3 first. So once we cover these two, then it'll be a sigh of relief because I'm just going to explain these casually. And it'll definitely touch back, but for the first half, I'm definitely going to have to, go back and forth here. So yeah, let's just do this thing. All right, we're back. So now I got the track list of CTV3 up on the board so you guys can visualize with me as I explain, okay? So first questions that may be popping up from you guys is, where's circa 2015? Where's Boys and Girls? In my opinion, those songs don't have any lore. Obviously, Boys and Girls doesn't have any lore. I guess same thing with circa 2015, because he's just kind of like laying out the story in a way. And you'll see me cut songs from the later albums like Blue and Pink. Obviously, those songs are part of the story, but it's sort of just like a quick rundown of what happens, really. So I cut those out because there's nothing really vital in there for me to use. Okay, so let's just get into this, all right? So first song, Falling For You. This is where Wavy Baby meets Lucy. You know, from the lyrics, they go to school together, right? Oh, by the way, I know how to edit photos and pictures into this, so as I'm explaining stuff, some pictures will pop up. Because I took screenshots. I went through this stuff. I got the info. I want you to see this stuff with me as I talk about it. Okay, so lyrics will definitely pop up over here or something. So yeah. Basically, they know each other at school, and Wavy Baby wants Lucy to call her. It's very obvious that Wavy Baby is like really into Lucy. And even their friends start to notice too. So you'll see that when we talk about Lucy. For Rainbow Bap, nothing really lore involved here, but I will make a wild claim and say that the low auto-tune grumbling in the beginning before the real beat starts coming in, I want to assume that's when IRYS is born, because it'll make sense when I get into Wavy Baby and Lucy's first breakup and stuff like that, because if IRYS was born before Falling For You or during, then his rise to fame would have caused Lucy to just totally ignore Wavy Baby from a long time ago. Like, this whole relationship between Wavy Baby and Lucy would have never happened if IRYS was born, in the beginning of CTV3 or, before CTV3. So yeah, that's the only thing I'm going to say about Rainbow Bap. For Lucy, Wavy Baby somehow manages to, land a date with Lucy. So that's really exciting for him. He goes up to the hill. Some of their friends are there, I guess, and he's like, "Oh, I'm waiting for Lucy," and then the friend's like, "No, she's not." Like, everyone knows that. It's been a fact. So basically, Wavy Baby is so obsessed with Lucy already that he ignores his mutual friends' claims that Lucy doesn't even care about him, that she's not really that into him. But regardless, Lucy still manages to show up on the date. So, Wavy Baby has a great time. He talks about wine. Wine is a very important thing in this album. And it sort of explains how this whole thing started to spiral down in a way. So obviously, he's like, "Oh, here are the wine and grapes." So they're obviously drinking some wine. They're having a good time. Wavy Baby's a real romancer. And we know that they drink wine because, boom, I have a screenshot of one of the visualizers where they're sipping on some wine. So they're definitely drinking it up on their date. I don't think that shot on the beach is their first date exactly. But that just proves that, they're doing a little sipping here and there. So what I believe that happened in this song is that, Lucy was drinking a little too much wine. She was having a good time, and then boom, kisses Wavy Baby. So, what happens is that Wavy Baby's like, "Oh my God, I got kissed. This is the greatest thing ever. The rest is history." He was like completely in love at that point. But for Lucy, she was just kind of like, it was a kiss. I was drunk. It's whatever. But, Wavy Baby starts to think there's something going on between the two, and he's really starting to push, like, "Hey, maybe we should be together." Yeah. So, towards the end of Lucy, it's kind of like, "I've been calling you, you're not picking up the phone." It's kind of mean, and we're gonna see that become a major issue. Lucy is not the very, very communicative person. She doesn't call Wavy Baby. She doesn't hang out with him very much. But the rare times that she does, it makes his day. So yeah, now we're getting into everything. Everything, I don't think it's too crazy on lore. Obviously, he says, "You're my everything" about like 500 times. So obviously, after this date, he's starting to become like super obsessed at this point. We already knew he was a little obsessed before, but now it's like really going at him. Lucy's his everything now just because of this kiss, and you're going to see as these songs develop that Lucy originally was terrible at communication, but once IRYS comes into play, then she's just going to totally ghost him. Okay, so what I want to do here is say that In the Hills and Bad Connection are sort of like a connected song in a way, obviously because of the music transition, but also because, it's one event overlapping another. So when I talk about IRYS, I've decided I'm just going to vaguely mention him. So when I get to the IRYS album, I'm definitely going to go in depth into the events where he's involved in CTV3. Obviously, because I can't talk about two albums at the same time. That's just going to be too crowded with information. But I'll definitely get more in detail about IRYS's, involvement when I get to the album. So In the Hills is sort of like when IRYS pops into the picture. Now he's really gained fame at this point, and he's super popular. He's spreading the vision. And guess what? That catches Lucy's attention. Wavy Baby hasn't been doing much for her. I guess she's sort of bored in a way. So what ends up happening, to me, in my eyes, based off the lyrics, is that she goes to hang out with IRYS. She wants to see him. She wants to be in the city and, hang out with him instead of Wavy Baby. So Wavy Baby's confused on what even happened because he got ghosted. So, it's like, you've been gone for like weeks. I don't know where you've been. Like, you can't pick up your phone ever. And then Bad Connection. I mean, boom. They're broken up. He keeps saying, "Girl, we're breaking up," And I think what happens is that Wavy Baby sees that Lucy gets with IRYS, and he's like, "Wow, I'm so gullible. Like, how could I even let this happen?" Like, and he doesn't want to complain about it because he feels like it's whatever. She seems so obsessed. Lucy seems so into IRYS that it's like, what's the point of even trying to save this relationship at this point? But as we'll see, Wavy Baby does not give up. Okay, he is, he'll do anything to get Lucy back because he's so obsessed. So I will touch onto IRYS's and Lucy's relationship when I get to the album, but just know at this point in the album, Bad Connection, Lucy has left Wavy Baby to be with IRYS. Okay. And sort of in between Bad Connection, Muted Sunrise is a big chunk of the IRYS album. I mean, okay, guys, it's so complicated. Basically, this is like the break in the album right here. A bunch of IRYS songs should be inserted right here. Since these two albums happen at the same time, like if I was to make this huge timeline of both the albums combined, like at this point right here, a decent chunk of IRYS songs would be in there, okay? But obviously, for your sake, I don't want to get into that right now. I want to just blow through CTV3, get to IRYS, and then we're going to blend the two. Obviously, I'm going to talk about the climax, and I think you guys know what that is. So I really want to cover this quickly for you guys. So Muted Sunrise is when Wavy Baby eventually gets back with Lucy. He's saying, like, will our love survive through the wintertime? And he's sort of hesitant on if things are going to go well, Obviously, he's still in love, but he's scared because he thinks Lucy's just going to go back to the way she was in the first part of the relationship. Obviously, it's going to happen. We know that happens. Lucy's a terrible partner to be with. So yeah, he's scared. He knows what's coming, but he's sort of putting the blame on himself in a way. He's like, I was lame. I guess I wasn't good enough for you at that point, but now he's stepping it up. So Young in Love, it's not exactly Wavy Baby focused in a way. a lot of the lyrics are sort of about the real world and like the life Jaden is living. But so the only line that I would really say is lore is IRYS tried to have me ambulance stretched. And that was a line that a lot of people noticed and a lot of people were, speculating about it when the album first dropped. But like I'll explain in IRYS does go after Wavy Baby. And it'll make sense once I get to IRYS, don't worry. But that ambulance stretch line is Wavy Baby saying like, oh, IRYS tried to get me, try to, put me in an ambulance and go to the hospital. He wanted to hurt me that bad, but tried. Emphasize the tried because IRYS did not succeed in his mission. So now we're getting into Cabin Fever, which obviously is a really happy song, but when you really get into the lyrics, it's kind of messed up. We see Lucy, go back to her old ways. This trend of her, ignoring Wavy Baby and doing her own thing and not really being a good girlfriend starts amping up again in Cabin Fever. Wavy Baby's like, how come I never see you? So it's like he's basically saying like, I rarely ever see you, which would be basic, a basic layout for a breakup. It's not long distance or anything, like they live in the same city, but he's so in love that he doesn't care that he rarely sees her, which I don't know. I guess that's his problem in a way, but Photograph hits, and that's kind of where things get a little awkward for the two. And they're looking at photographs of each other. They've hit a really rough spot at this point. They're sort of like reminiscing on certain memories when they look at photographs, but they both sound upset, but in the end they're kind of like, if I'm not with you, I guess I'll just drown, because they need each other's love. I guess Lucy sort of realized that, yeah, maybe she does truly love Wavy Baby. All this effort he put in sort of started to pay off in a way. But regardless of that, I don't know who cut it off, right? But in Drops of Sun, it ends. Actually, I think Lucy cuts it off for who knows why. I think she just loves traveling so much and being on her own that like she's like, yeah, I can't do this relationship because I can't fit your needs, Drops of Sun is sort of basically like Wavy Baby saying, oh yeah, Lucy, you taught me how to love. Thanks for that. But at the end of the album, it's like she came to my house and said that it was over, or he came to her house. Wavy Baby's getting messed up here, He keeps trying for love. He really wants to succeed with Lucy, but Lucy's just, dodging him and like obviously left him for a different person and like never is with him, but he still wants to be with her. He still thinks that there's something there. He's got to step up his game, which he does. All right, he does step up the game. Wavy Baby starts to realize I got to be cool. So obviously it Drops of Sun, they're broken up, but in Sunburnt, well, wow, Wavy Baby's starting to feel himself in a way. He's heavy flirtation. He's like, girl, I got your number. I think one of the lyrics that's gonna pop up is like, he wants a peek of the backside. He wants to look at Lucy's butt. Wow, so flirtatious, so romantic. So he's sort of flexing like, I know you got feelings for me, and I know I have to take a different approach. He's got to grasp her attention. So in Deep End, the chorus, let's go diving in the deep end. He's basically saying like, I know we messed up a bunch of times. I know things haven't gone so smooth, but we should just go diving in the deep end. Let's just go all in. Let's try it again, and we'll just be loving each other. It'll be fun. And I guess that catches Lucy's attention. Okay, so what I'm planning to do is cut off my explanation of CTV3 at the birth of SYRE. Basically what that means is once I talk about Endless Summer, I'm going to go to IRYS and then go through the songs. And then once I hit IRYS, I'm going to talk about the birth of SYRE and IRYS at the same time, because those happen. Like, those two songs blend together. Those events in those two songs happen like in very close proximity to each other. Like I said, that's the climax, the drive-by, which is really important that we go over, because that drive-by is like crazy. a ton of lore there, a ton of lore in the birth of SYRE, you know, and IRYS. So in Endless Summer, basically, Wavy Baby's back with Lucy in a way. You know, he's talking about how cool he is, and like he's just sort of spitting bars. Like he's not really upset about anything. Obviously, the song isn't sad. And I will say that Rory is featured in Endless Summer, and I want you to keep that in mind. So if you're watching this video, you're getting exclusive content because I never talked about this in my written theories on the subreddit. This is exclusive. I was going through stuff and I just kind of came to this realization. Rory is actually a much bigger character than we thought he was. So we see that he's present in Endless Summer, and I guess I'll just say it right here. He was there at the drive-by. I will say that. Okay, so how we're going to cut off CTV3 right here is that IRYS is with Lucy. He's feeling himself. He feels cool. Rory's there with him, spitting bars, having a good time, and then boom, birth of SYRE. But we got to cover IRYS first, so let's do that. Okay, now I've got the track list of IRYS put up on the board for you guys. Took a little break, looked over the stuff. As you can see, I added the little black piece on top of the microphone because I reviewed those previous clips and I sound super loud. So maybe this will prevent me blowing your ears out. So, also I noticed I was mispronouncing things, or I said the wrong name. I'll try to correct myself by popping up with like words or something. I'll do my best on that. Obviously, I'm just proving myself every minute that I'm never going to be a YouTuber or something like that. I'm just doing this to make the theory easier for you guys to access. All right, that's the main point. All right, so now we've got IRYS on the board, the track list at least. As you can see, Pink is not up there for the reasons that I mentioned earlier. So let's just get straight into it because this is important to cover. So for noise, I just think it's IRYS. You know, he's starting to come up in LA. He's starting to get famous. He's starting to distribute the drug. His gang is starting to become big. So yeah, and the same would go for ItsOrio. It's just him flexing and talking about how successful he is and like how nobody should mess with him and stuff like that. So he's really feeling himself in those two songs. I would say in the CTV3 album, that's before Lucy sort of notices that he's popular. So I would say that's sort of around like Noise and ItsOrio happen at around Rainbow Bap and everything in CTV3, I would say. That's just a general guess because I totally forgot the CTV3 track list off the top of my head. Okay, so now we're getting into Again featuring SYRE, and that might sound crazy that SYRE is a feature, but it makes sense. I will keep on emphasizing that IRYS is a prequel to SYRE. Okay, so I'll get into it and it'll make a ton of sense. So in Again, at this point in the album, IRYS is with Lucy. Obviously, the whole breakup, In the Hills, Bad Connection sort of happened in between Again and ItsOrio. So in Again, IRYS is with Lucy, and who knows how long they've been together. Obviously, we know Lucy left Wavy Baby because, IRYS was living this new lifestyle, something dangerous, something new, and she was more attracted to that than whatever Wavy Baby was offering, okay? So IRYS is just doing his thing rapping, and then all of a sudden, oh snap, it's SYRE, okay? But how does that make sense that SYRE is in a prequel album before SYRE was ever a thing, But here's what I've come up with. I think Wavy Baby, obviously he was trying to get Lucy back, right? He's so in love with her, he wanted to get her back. So what I believe SYRE's verse to be, SYRE, quotation marks, is Wavy Baby sending like a recorded message, like a love song to her to sort of serenade her back. I don't know how he sent it. I don't know in what form it was. Obviously it was played on like a tape or something. And obviously IRYS's gang got their hands on it, and it was like sort of intercepted before it got to Lucy, I guess. I think there was a line in there that was I'll climb the tallest mountain in the city to see how I love you, and that's very Wavy Baby sounding, in general, if you listen to SYRE's verse in this song, it doesn't sound like SYRE at all from the SYRE album. Like, it's sort of got a little bit of auto-tune in there, and we know Wavy Baby uses that, but not SYRE. So I think what Wavy Baby did is that he went in this undercover name of SYRE to sort of, not reveal his identity to IRYS. But obviously from his voice and what he's saying, Lucy would know it's Wavy Baby. But he just wanted to keep that sort of, secret identity in a way. So obviously at the end, we know IRYS turned it off. He called it whack. He's like, what is this? Because obviously someone was trying to steal his girl. And, IRYS wasn't showing that behavior when Wavy Baby was with Lucy, because Lucy just left, Wavy Baby for IRYS. Like, he had no influence in that. But now, Wavy Baby's pulling up and he's trying to, serenade Lucy to leave IRYS. So obviously he's going to be mad about that, because that's who IRYS embodies, anger, So I'll pull up the picture. The picture will pop up, and it's from the music video of Again, and it says IRYS running from SYRE. Now, I think he sort of put that to sort of throw you off, because all those scenes of him on that, airplane strip, the plane strip, is very important to what I'm about to talk about. I think IRYS running from SYRE was him running from that music being played. I feel like it made him so angry that he just decided to bolt off. And guess what is in that airplane strip? Oh, his Tesla. And obviously, if we look at various clips, I think I'll pop up a picture of his Instagram. He is driving the car towards the mountains, the hills. And I think people started to blow past that. It's just, it's just him recording a video, him in his car, messing around. But in reality, that is a big part of IRYS' story. Basically, he's so enraged that, Wavy Baby tried getting Lucy back, that he just decided, I'm going to go to the hills, I'm going to find this guy, and I'm going to, beat him up or kill him. Either one of the two, because we don't know. So all those clips of him driving in the Tesla is him going towards the hills to find Wavy Baby. That's what it is. And as we can see, I'm about to pull up the picture soon, up on the top. He's in the hills. He makes it to the hills, and I think the picture I'm going to show is him when he's beaten by the cops. So basically, what happened is that IRYS went to the hills to look for Wavy Baby, but the hills, it's a big area, so it's going to be hard to find him. So what happened is that the cops noticed IRYS left the city. And basically he was in this weakened state because of that. Not weak physically, but he had no protection. IRYS was pretty clumsy with the way he acted, because he just went to the hills by himself, which made him vulnerable. Obviously the cops aren't going to go after IRYS in the city, because he has so much influence and such great power in the city. So him going to the hills was a major bad move for him, obviously, because we see he's beaten up and tied up. And yeah, so he basically failed. What he wanted to do was find Wavy Baby and kill him or something for messing with his girl. He goes to the hills, the cops jump him, he gets beat up, not killed though. I think his boys come to the rescue, because you see it in the second half of ItsOrio on his Instagram. So that happens. Basically, attempted murder by IRYS. So, oh yeah, I forgot to cover. I gotta talk about Got It, because in the visualizer for Got It on YouTube, it's also the Tesla driving straight towards the mountains, and there's a very major line in Got It that is she told me her ex is wildin' and giving her problems. And when you listen to the song, and Got It is a pretty fast-paced song, you're sort of yeah, it's just a lyric, whatever. He's just flexing about how he buys all this nice stuff for his girl and things like that. I keep saying girl, but it's Lucy. He's talking about Lucy here. And Lucy's saying, oh, my ex is giving me problems, and he's like, he's so crazy. So he's been saying that Wavy Baby's a problem since IRYS. So I feel like that line reveals so much. Lucy goes up to IRYS and it's like, yeah, my ex, Wavy Baby, he's like, he's crazy and he keeps like trying to mess with me. Like, he's giving me so many problems. And then obviously IRYS says, yeah, I got it. And you know how he got it? You know how he's going to solve it? He goes to the hills and tries to deal with the problem by, murdering him or something. It's crazy. So I almost missed that. But yeah, basically Lucy does mention to IRYS that Wavy Baby's a problem. So it's very obvious through these lyrics and through the visualizers and through, the clips on Instagram that IRYS, was bothered by Wavy Baby's presence. And keep in mind, Wavy Baby has this, alternate name of SYRE that he tried to use to hide his identity. The only reason that Wavy Baby got exposed was because he kept talking about the mountains and the hills in his like little tape that he tried giving, Lucy. So obviously we know Wavy Baby and Lucy get back together. And that's because Lucy found out that IRYS tried killing him. And, in the end, Lucy's still friends with Wavy Baby. So it's kind of messed up in her eyes for IRYS to, to take such a violent route to deal with the problem. So how she does that is, how she ends it is just leaving him and going back to, Wavy Baby. So, if we quickly hop back to CTV3, the second part of their relationship happens after Lucy finds out about IRYS's, attempted murder. So IRYS doesn't care at first. His boys, his money, and his business is like the most important thing to him. So basically, fire department is him just kind of being like, I don't care, it's whatever. But deep down, it does affect him because in Mission, we see, sort of, I would say IRYS ODing on Vision. He's floating in the air and he's shaking violently. He seems kind of like out of control of himself. It's crazy. I think he just got he tried forgetting Lucy through Vision, and that sort of, backstabbed him because he OD'd on it. And I think I'll throw up another picture from the ItsOrio visualizer on YouTube where, IRYS is sort of dancing in this like pile of trash and he's like climbing out of it. But you'll see, maybe I'm able to put it next to each other. The Mission visualizer is him floating above that same area. So basically what happens is that, IRYS ODs, and then once it fades, he kind of crashes into this pile of trash. But he's still, dancing around and like singing, things like that. And his boys were just watching. So I guess maybe it's a normal thing for him to happen. That's like a typical side effect for IRYS. I don't know. But after that OD, he's like, I can't deal with this breakup through drugs. I have to, face it through my emotion. And, IRYS keeps like pushing himself as like this angry, I don't care type of guy. But Summertime in Paris, Blackout, Pain, On My Own, those are all sad songs. There's no way IRYS is this just embodiment of anger. Obviously, he's angry about some things, but in reality, he's a sad character as well. So obviously, Summertime in Paris, he's like upset. Summertime's meant to fall in love, and he doesn't have it, and he's sad about it. In Blackout, it gets sadder. Pain is sadder. He feels pain. This is a terrible breakup for him. I guess he was really into Lucy as well, and he knows it was his fault for the breakup because he, tried killing Wavy Baby. So he's sort of reflecting on that. He's like, dang, I kind of messed up there. I think I'll throw up some lyrics here and there that sort of talk about how he's sad. He's like, I only think about you when it's dark, things like that, Chateau does not have Allure in it. I feel like it's sort of him recovering a little bit from the sadness of the breakup, but none of the lines really give off like any major story arc or anything, you know? So Chateau can be ignored. But on my own, I know a lot of people like this song. It's sort of IRYS kind of being like, I'm on my own, and that's all that matters, you know? Like, he sort of values, like, I don't need Lucy in my life. I just need to focus on my goals and what I want in my own life. I need to start thinking about this other person and start focusing on myself. So even though the song kind of comes off sad, you know, he's you know, at peace in a way, because he knows that, you know, he's got a target goal, you know, keep dealing the vision. So Riot happens. I think he kind of uses this new awakening in himself from the breakup to kind of go on this riot in a way. I think in that song he says he kills all the cops. So at the point of riot, there's no more cops because apparently him and his gang murdered all of them. So that's interesting. Also, like, the song is like really hard. It's a hard song. It goes hard. You know, he's really angry. The visualizers sort of show like people beating each other up, and he's just like, you know, jumping around, having a good time. So, you know, this breakup sort of invigorated him to focus on his gang activity and dealing the vision. So he just goes on this big riot. He just goes all over the city, you know, messing it up, showing that he has authority there. And now his authority is even more solidified because there's no police left to, you know, stop him. So yeah, we got through IRYS pretty quick, I think, because now we're at the song IRYS. So this next part is me talking about the drive-by. That is the climax, and this is very important that you guys listen closely when I get into this, okay? So I'm gonna, you know, write some stuff up on the board. I think I'm gonna draw out the drive-by for you guys, so you can sort of visualize it in a way. So I will go write that stuff on the board right now.